Well, it's a plan.
Appreciate it. So what everybody thinks?
Yes, Tim.
Is your mom available?
Actually, yeah, pretty much. Anything not related to my mother.
I'd like to know how, Kelly, when you first found out about Deadpit, and at what point did you decide that, hey, this might make a good documentary?
I met Deadpit through a gentleman named Wayne Klingman, who came from Michigan Film Festival. And we had a short film called The Dark and Lonely Night that we submitted to Deadpit. And I had never heard of them. And Wayne said, hey, this guy's going to review your film this episode, go here and listen to him. And I listened to him, and I told these guys, I admit, the first time, I couldn't stop laughing the first time I heard their accents. I was like, oh my God, what's going on here, But, they gave us a good review, and we liked it, and we just kind of, I don't know, we exchanged emails or something, and it was like, they were really cool guys through emails, and I sent them a couple DVDs to give away or something. And then the next film we had came out, and they reviewed that and gave us a good review, and I started listening to their show, and Wes was joking around one day, and he said on the show that, someone ought to do a documentary about us or something.
I think we had a fan question.
Yeah, or something like that.
I told you, though. I told you, like, right off the bat. Like, wow, you don't even have a documentary on us. So Jim here and I, who's the producer with Rusty Robot, we thought, yeah, that'd be kind of cool, those guys, And I didn't know anything about Deadpit at the time, just from listening to him. So we came up with a whole storyline. We convinced this guy to give us money because we really thought they were movers and shakers in like the independent Hollywood scene. We are.
So I convinced this guy to give us money to go down to Prestonsburg, and we met him, and we're like, okay, this is cool. These are really nice guys, and it's really interesting. And I mean, I hate to say it, but it was such a totally different culture and area from where we were from. I'm from Detroit, Jim's from Milwaukee. And the fact that these guys are really something special in their town. I mean, they really are. I mean, they're doing this. Well, I mean, we tried to get that across in the film that, it was really hard because a lot of people wouldn't let us shoot. But they really kind of stick out in the town as far as what they're doing. And I mean, this is a town that's really into, it's coal mining and it's country music and it's bluegrass music and stuff like that. And these guys are doing a horror podcast. And when we talked to the one gentleman,
podcast.
Yeah, that's been a podcast.
He's done live shows.
Yeah. And when we talked to the one guy, Fred James, he was just like, well, I don't believe people like that are doing that around here, because he didn't know about it.
Why didn't you put that in the documentary?
Well, we tried to limit his screen time because none of us like him. So.
I think the interesting thing about Prestonsburg, though, that a lot of people don't realize is I think there's a lot of closet horror fans in that area.
Right.
And it's just one of those things you don't really talk about. You just sneak in.
I think we found that out more after we first filmed.
And that's kind of how James got into the movies, because we were talking to Freddie, and he goes, oh, there's a horror fan who's been around for years, this James guy.
Yeah, it's
We're
like,
like, oh, and they didn't know who he was.
That's like us in like 20 years.
Almost like one of my neighbors.
I have an honest, serious question.
Sure.
Not about your mom.
Okay. About my dad?
Honestly, outside of the documentary, the popularity yous are having, do yous feel the need to keep interviewing or try to get interviews with people like Carpenter and Romero, since you got people like Fango Radio that nobody gives a blue fuck about because Dee Snider just wants to talk about Strangeland, and you feel that yous are actually the voice of a real horror fan that's out there. It doesn't give a shit that Rob Zombie's remaking Halloween.
I think we are like kind of channeling that group of people that really like the 70s and 80s stuff, and that really dig horror films and films in general, are not just like, teen buff or people that kind of get into it for a little while and go and see Saw and Hostel and go. It's like a fad for a lot of people, but I mean, I think to some degree, yeah. I mean, and we're trying to provide some alternative. You don't have to listen to shit, but we don't want Fangoria just to be the only game in town. Fangoria, Rue Mord, maybe a couple others that I'm not too familiar with.
Old Crouchy's radio hour?
Yeah, old Crotchy's radio.
That's a good one.
Yeah, somebody's got to be trying to find some of these people, like, you know, the Linnea Quigleys and the people that don't get the respect and stuff that they deserve, the James Bryans, the people that make these films and nobody fucking...
But I've noticed, though, that the more we do the show, a lot of the times the shows we have with no interviews are more popular than the ones with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right on.
But
It's like, I mean, there's really no
Honestly,
point
the
unless
John
you have-
Carpenter interview is the best one he's ever done. It is the best show, the best interview. Because I don't think any article, any magazine I've ever read has gotten a better interview out of John Carpenter than
I guess two times a good day.
I think when we talked to him about wrestling, he was like, what the... Where'd that come from?
He's a big wrestling fan.
He is a
That
good
is-
wrestling
that's
fan.
wrong.
And
Right,
also
sort of broke the ice a little bit.
What is your guys' secret about going out and actually getting the contact these artists?
What is our...
How do you guys go out and do it? How do you get
Well, a subject that wasn't really covered too much in the documentary was the site we had before Deadpit, which focused more on collecting autographs and stuff like that, getting the contact info that way. We had a huge notepad list full of contacts that we used early on. I mean, we started, I guess, with Friday the 13th interviews, and then we realized, shit, people are checking these out just for the interviews, and then once they start listening to the show, you know,
That's
the
where,
interviews,
yeah,
do the interviews.
that's where the whole thing got started, is trying to find, like, fans' addresses and contact information to get autographs. So, like, we started doing the show, we're like, shit, we've got like a phone book.
Yeah,
Basically full
really
of
was, yeah.
people's
How
stuff.
long did it take to get that list?
Years, like, probably 2 years.
Yeah, probably a couple of years. Back to the Horror Find 04 thing, though. When we went to that show, kick-started everything. Kick-started the autograph thing. From that, we're like, shit, we got pretty much everybody's autograph we ever wanted to get. Where else can we go? So there hadn't been a radio show at that point that I know of. I'm sure.
And the weird thing is, it's like 10 times easier than you'd ever think it would be. I'm not going to stand there and set up with friggin' Houdini stuff. You email, like John Carpenter, email his agent. You know, we'd be one to do. Here's who we've interviewed. Here's what we're trying to do. We're willing to do it. He'll think about it. Give us a call. This number. We call. It's him. He answers the phone. That's it. It's a story.
Dude, his perks.
The Romero thing, though, slipcase.
Yeah, Slippy.
He did it.
He was on that.
He got the interview courses. Because,
So now, where do you go from here? I mean, who do you want to interview, or what do you want to do? from this point?
West Craven. I don't know, those are the big two names, but yeah, I mean, there's always new movies. Romero's got a new movie coming out. We can get him back on the show, probably no problem.
There's always somebody. That's the thing. There's people that nobody even thinks, like Nick Phillips, the guy that directed Crazy Fat Apple. There's always somebody. Yeah.
The elusive Jackie Kong.
Yeah!
The bang.
They're on the list.
I know they emphasize what you do in your spare time. What's he do in his spare time, and whose little house are y'all buried in?
Is that
to do y'all's radio
flashlight?
program?
That would be my show, or my house.
Your house?
Well, I'll say it. You guys got to keep it a secret.
Yeah, you could have told me before you go to the pressing room.
All right. What I do has to pretty much remain, like, you can't film it. This is
We filmed it, it's just too damn
Does it
boring.
involve a dog?
it could get X-rated, I guess.
Yeah.
CK is actually a special
drug
mention.
testing, DUI, managed DUIs, and impressions.
So before you leave, random.
Everybody
else they leave.
I did have.
Well, it was right one.
Yeah, we did have a segment with Wes where he was. I mean, Wes does all of the Deadpit internet stuff, everything, the website, everything. I mean,
Not the iTunes.
the high tech.
No, that guy does the iTunes.
Oh, okay, all right, except for the iTunes. But all the high tech stuff, Wes takes care of. And you know, we were kind of like, you know, we didn't want Wes. We wanted to kind of balance out Wes and Aaron and kind of show what they did. But then